Hi guys, my name is Sammy and I'm from the Property Plug, and this is a property related podcast based in the Midlands, and we're getting expert property professionals in the industry on the podcast to discuss their journeys, their loves, their hates and challenges and wins and losses. And today we've got James Wilson from Hugo Reeves, and they are our property recruitment specialist. And instead of me telling you about what they do, why not you tell me about what you do?
Thank you. So as a Hugo Reeves, so I'm the managing director and one of the co-founders along with Tom Gerriger. We set the business up about 6 months ago with the intention to do things differently. So we noticed problems within the recruitment industry. The industry was more focused on productivity as opposed to relationships. So we had a good synergy together and wanted to create a more inclusive environment, a more client-focused environment. And we focus on a full spectrum of property services, so anything from surveyors to property managers to lettings to estate agency to planning, and that's across consultancies, so consultancies acting on behalf of major projects across the UK. And small independents, estate agents and small independent planning consultancies to more national scale as well. So a full spectrum of property services, but with a big focus on rural, residential, commercial and infrastructure.
Good place to be in Birmingham really now for construction and property, isn't it?
Yeah.
Lots of builds happening, lots of cranes as you look at the skyline.
Yeah.
HS2, they're literally building so many properties in central Birmingham right now. I think they're at 4,000 or 5,000 units they're trying to build right now as we speak.
Yeah.
Which is a huge amount of people. Therefore, they need a lot of resources, they need a lot of people. I guess you're in a good bubble at the moment then, I guess, for being a property recruiter.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our location alone, so I mean, HS2 are in the same building as us. So, we're right in the middle of the business district in Two Snow Hill, Colmore Row. Exactly what you said, major projects such as HS2, have a variety of different consultancies working in connection with them. And HS2 covers, such a variety of different sectors. So whilst it would be classified in a consultancy setting as infrastructure, if you're a property manager focused on residential property management, consultancies that work on behalf of HS2 will have quite a diverse range of residential assets. They'll have commercial assets, they'll have rural property and landowners, which would require rural surveyors, and there'll be, as I said earlier, there'll be again commercial assets amongst the portfolio as well. So we sit in very well in the hub of all that.
I guess it's coming from London all the way through countryside, cities, countryside. So you've got to literally try and find people. Obviously, just talking about HS2, for example.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've got to find people who who are experts in these fields, I guess. And they're not going to be permanent roles, but they're contractors, I guess, yeah?
Well, for us, we predominantly deal with permanent recruitment at the moment. So we will be looking into more contract opportunities in the future. But yeah, no, as I said, the focus for ourselves is again that permanent staff for developers such as HS2, for example, or clients or projects such as HS2. And on behalf of consultancies on a full-time basis, so full-time RICS chartered surveyors, full-time chartered planners, property managers in both leasehold property management and lettings, estate agency, you name it. So we're quite diverse, which puts us in a very good position because we're interchangeable depending on market trends. So, last year, or a little bit before, the residential market was absolutely booming and there was a massive demand for valuation surveyors due to the bounce back from COVID. More so this year, at the end of last, residential property market slowed down quite considerably. And then we saw an increase in opportunity in the commercial market. And actually, as the year has progressed, we're starting to see a bit of a change again. There's more opportunity within infrastructure. There's more opportunity within residential as well, and because our industry is quite interchangeable and we cover a broad spectrum, we're in a really good position to cover everything basically.
That sounds great. Well, tell me how did you get into property recruitment?
So, I mean, my background is very diverse. So, I mean, I left school and joined the armed forces. I was in the parachute regiment for sort of 5 years. Established very quickly it wasn't for me, and wanted a little bit more out of life than sort of a demand and, you know, stamping the foot at the command of a person per se. I left the parachute regiment, did a stint in the police service. So I was in the Metropolitan Police for a couple of years before.
Well, that's in London, yeah?
That was in London, yeah, absolutely. So I'm from Birmingham, but, you know, was down in Colchester for the army. Went to London for the Met Police, who have quite they welcome ex-forces, so it was quite an easy transition. And then changed my career focus to recruitment. So I mean, I started out in a huge corporate organisation which had multiple entities, and that was recruiting into the construction and property markets, with a focus initially onto Manchester, and then my focus was brought back on a temporary and a contract basis to Birmingham. Real good introduction to my recruitment career. I moved on after a couple of years and started at not a startup, but a becoming and, you know, a smaller privately owned property focused consultancy. There, you know, I was in a market that I enjoyed doing what I'm doing now. I built up experience in growing and developing high performing teams before deciding to make the move to opening up our own recruitment agency, and that's where Hugo Reeves was founded, on the promise to try and do things differently, a lot more customer focused, as much as we can be. And I appreciate that sounds pretty cliche and what every business owner sort of strives to do, but we hold it integral to ourselves, to our staff, and, you know, we only hire people who share the same attitudes. You know, we are much more focused on a value add, as opposed to trying to exploit a quick short-term fix. We're in the game, you know, we're in a long game, not a short game, and we've done really well. You know, we've grown the team to 4 members of staff. We're looking to add to that in the next couple of months as well. You know, we've signed up key clients, bigger sort of global consultancies over the last couple of months as well. So I'd like to think that our, you know, customer-centric attitude and focus is really paying off as well.
Yeah, well, it's really important to have that customer-focused-centric attitude. Please tell me how you get that across with to clients, so they understand how you do that. How do they know you like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, I've been in the industry for quite some time. So I'd like to think I've always had this client-focused attitude wherever I've been, and I've continued to be known for that whilst I've been at Hugo Reeves. And I'm hoping, and I'm sure some of the people that work with me would attest to that statement as well. We focus on a value add, and I appreciate I've said that before, but just to expand on it, you know, we're more than just identifying a good candidate and filling a role. You know, we ensure the candidate's values align with the person that we're working with, and we do that by really taking the time to understand the business, the vacancy, the structure, and taking that to market and really selling the business as a blunt way to put it. The reason why we can focus on that is we're not too heavily focused on KPIs. Now, obviously, KPIs are a really important tool to understand what's going right, what's going wrong, and where we can improve. Traditionally, recruitment agencies are very focused on call times, how many calls you've made, how many client visits you've attended, how many CVs you've sent. And what this does is it puts stress on staff to focus on trying to fulfill the targets as opposed to trying to do a good job. So we say, you know, we'd much prefer you to do 4 or 5 hours focused work than 9 hours of faff. We'd much prefer you to take 5 calls as opposed to 10, so long as the quality of those calls are better and you get a better understanding of the person you're dealing with, both as a candidate or both for a candidate and a client as well.
Yeah,
and it builds trust.
I get that a lot. In the same in our industry, so I could easily sit people on the phones all day, look at that property there. It's got 500 matched applicants. Call all 500 of them, and they're going to be. Some people will be like, the data is not always up to date. Sometimes you have to like delete data because it's so out of date. So if you spend hours a day just cold calling people, you're just going to waste a lot of time, and people at the other end of the phone are going to realise that you didn't really have a reason to call them.
Yeah.
So if you spend time researching the person before you call them, I guess you can obviously show that you've got a better value compared to other recruitment agents or even estate agents in our industry as well.
Yeah, well, there's a really good story on this as well, and I'm sure she won't mind me mentioning her name. So we've got a lady within our organisation called Charlie. This is her first, established role in recruitment, and she's been working on a really interesting project for a new client of ours. And she's gone to market and identified a number of candidates for the role. And we had really positive feedback from the client, specifically at how prepared Charlie's candidates were for the interview. And that really stood out against the masses of other candidates that have either applied directly. And look, it's no secret we're in a competitive market, and in our industry there's multiple agents working on one vacancy one time. But that feedback, which they further expanded on to say that the offer, which was accepted, which is why the end goal of our business, was primarily due to how much time he clearly spent researching the company, potential interview questions, and just had an answer for everything. What you don't see behind the scenes, which I can absolutely vouch for, is the time that Charlie spent on the phone to this person, making sure he understood who the client were, understood the role in the industry that he was going into, and even went into giving him some questions that the previous candidate had been asked in an interview where he probably didn't answer as well as he should. And sort of had a bit of a telephone interview with him and how to navigate them as well. And as a direct result, I mean, he was, blown out of the water in terms of a choice against the other candidates, really. So
instead of KPIing your staff, you let them have time to do a bit more research in the background.
Yeah.
And then because they got more research in the background, they know the job better, they know the client better, they can advise the candidate better. And then, if as a company, you've got a better chance of filling that role.
Absolutely, and this is what I say: everyone who comes into the business must have that attitude, or open to our way of working. And it's very much a case of if you come from recruiting into the property sector, then you've sort of got the relevant experience we're looking for, and everything else can be sort of mentored on. What we don't do is bring anyone on, throw them onto a desk, which I know happens quite often with a few different firms in the industry, and just give them a target and expect them to hit it from day one. Now, we don't operate in that capacity whatsoever. We have a dedicated sort of a person internally who focuses on the process, how we do things, right down to the nitty-gritty bits such as writing the CV correctly, how do we format it, how do we get our branding on there. I always say to members of staff, if me and you are going to sell an old bicycle on Facebook Marketplace, and you put a terrible photo up with no description against my well thought out photos with a detailed description about the history, the background, I'm going to be paid more than what you do for that particular ad. So it's about everything from the initial introduction, the way we write the CVs, and really making sure the person understands what they're doing and what they're talking about. And we've got people that we've, candidates that we've worked with or I've been in contact with for years who would be very happy to provide assistance as well. So it's all about the long-term benefit, treat everyone as well as they can, and it pays dividend.
No, I agree. Like when you were talking then, I was just thinking MECS sort of aligns on as a marketing-led agency.
Yeah, yeah.
So we try and take photos that can make the house look better. We take videos which obviously make the house look really, we call it sexy. We do voiceovers for these videos. We post them on all the platforms, on YouTube, social medias, so we can expose the house to as many people. And like you said, we might be able to get more for these houses because more people have got eyes on them than any other agent can put on their properties, because we've got more exposure through the media channels that we use. So there's some obviously synergy there between what you guys do and what we do. When I built MECS, it was because I came from an agency background and I just wanted to improve on what I'd been taught and try and bring it to another level. And over the last 15 or 14 years, this industry has changed so much. Now we own drones in the office. We've got 3D cameras. We've got laser measures. We've got £5,000 cameras. And literally, content we have, the equipment we have is outrageous.
Yeah.
But you need it because you need to be able to make these houses look good. The same way you guys need to make your candidates look good. I guess you help them write CVs, don't you, as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's, you know, we screen CVs daily, you know, and I've been doing so for years, since my time in the industry. Tom, my business partner, has been in the industry 10 plus years and has quite an extensive experience in dealing with, you know, a variety of different candidates, from administrators to you know, director level planners for global scale developers or consultancies, and exactly that, you know, a first impression counts, you know, within our industry.
Yep.
And people buy from who they trust, you know, similar to yourself. You know, you've got to come across credible, you've got to stand out from everyone else. It's a real competitive market for us recruiters, as it is with yourselves, I'm sure, as imagine as well ridiculous.
Now. The market for us is so saturated with agents at the moment. It's really tough to try and get the fee you want, basically.
Yes, absolutely.
Because there's always an agent out there who's willing to drop their pants and just lower their fee.
Yeah.
Because they are KPI'd, they want a list. The big boys in the UK are renowned for it, just overvaluing, low fee, get the instruction on. Their KPI to list 20 properties a month. They've hit 20, they sell 5, who cares?
Yeah.
And it's frustrating because competing against that is tough. Recently, we've just gone through a whole process of just raising our fee.
Yeah.
Because we don't get all the listings anyway, even when we were 1%. So now we've started going in at 1.2, 1.3, 1.4%, which is low fees anyway. But we've had to do that because if you're not getting them all anyway, you might as well go high. You still get the same ratio. Because people know who they want to work with. They want to work with credible individuals, people that give a shit about their company. We really care about our clients. Like right now, as you speak right now, the market is going for a really mini blip because the autumn statement's coming out at the end of October. So the housing market is just basically paused. It's mental to say it. Like 2 weeks ago, we didn't even notice this coming in. And now people just aren't viewing houses because they're worried about what this new Rachel Reeves, I think her name is going to do with the property market. Because if she changes taxation, if she changes capital gains, it affects people's purchases. So an agent like myself, we spot these patterns and we quickly communicate that with our clients and we tell them what's happening. Today we did an email out to a number of our vendors saying, look, don't panic right now because you're not getting that many viewings.
Yeah.
Because right now everyone's stressed about what's happening with the whole economy. Just relax, wait till after the statement and things will pick up again. It is like that, and that's how, as an agent, that's how we stand out from other agents. We stay in constant communication, but not just telling them what's happening. We say why it's happening because we are intelligent enough to say that. A lot of agents don't do that. I've sold houses, I've bought houses through other agents, and their communication standards were subpar. And
do you know what? That's a really good point. That I appreciate we're in a different industry, but there's definitely some similarities here. Is we won't deliver on every job. So, you know, whilst we offer a lot more in terms of salary reviews, interview preparation, you know, advice about the clients or the candidates or the market trends, etc., we won't deliver on everything 100% of the time. What's key is that we communicate it. So, you know, if we're coming across, you know, hard to fill vacancies, we would call them. If we're looking for a very specialist person in a very difficult market, and bluntly put, we don't find them, we communicate this back to our clients and explain this is what we've done, this is what we've tried to do, it is not working. And I think people lack that. People lack the emotional intelligence to pick up the phone and just say, look, you know, we're struggling, these are the reasons why. And I think when you sugarcoat it, that's where problems come in. This is where distrust, I promise you I'm going to do that, and then you don't do that. Well, I'm going to do it next week, and then next week comes and there's no update. Whereas if you're transparent with everyone, and even if someone else swoops in and by chance does fills the requirement, they will remember you who took the time to communicate the problems and show your worth.
We've got like reviews on our Google and other platforms from people that we listed but didn't sell for.
Yeah.
Because you can't sell every house, so not every house goes through. And they were so happy with our service that they know it wasn't our fault, and they still leaves a 5-star review.
Yeah.
And today, or last night actually, one of those vendors actually emailed me asking, what do I think about the market? And I went back to him and said, look, it's up and down at the moment. It's very unpredictable. If you want to list it now, it's going to be a little bit less than what we sold it for last time. But my advice is wait till the new year, because that's when we're going to get a really big bounce back. And he's like, point taken, chat in the new year. He came back to me after 2 years.
Yeah.
And that shows they value my opinion, they like my opinion, and obviously the information I give them, they take it on board. You know, because we built that relationship with them, and we were never scared to pick up the phone and tell them there's a problem.
We did, again, different
Don't get me wrong, by the way.
Yeah,
I hate doing that, by the way. I hate giving bad news, but the reality is you have to deliver bad news and do it in a professional way.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, if you keep giving good news, sometimes you won't speak to your clients, and so many people don't speak to their clients because they're worried about giving bad news. And I struggle to give bad news, but I do it. And at the end of it, I'm like, it wasn't that hard. But each time, because I'm like a perfectionist, I want things to be right. Yeah. I still struggle to always deliver, but it goes through, and at the end of that call, I'm happy with it. You probably have the same. You probably have a lot more than me, but there's a lot of issues with this industry.
So our ratio's got a lot better now because of the time that we're putting in. When I mean ratio, for people we identify to getting to interview to getting them the job, we're doing really well on that, because we're spending more time actually screening the shortlists effectively, and what that means is if someone's not suitable, we'll tell them why, and we won't proceed to submit them to the client. But that being said, we're in the industry, we have to have difficult conversations. People commit time and trust into us in an agent to handle their details confidentially, to put them in front of an absolute stranger and try and make them as well informed as possible, and that takes time, and time is money, and there is an investment some way, shape or form from everyone we deal with who speaks with us, and it's really scary after someone going through a 3 or 4 stage process which has taken months to say, sorry, you've been unsuccessful because someone better has come along. But actually, exactly what you've said, when we've fed that back, I've never had a bad response. It's always, yes, disappointment if they've really wanted it, but it's been taken in a good way, and we hold our heads up high that we've communicated everything effectively. Yeah. We've held nothing back, and therefore nothing could ever come back to us. We get a positive response from it.
Yeah, of course. Like it's easy to lie, and a lot of agents just lie. Yeah. From valuations to feedback to what happens on viewings to even lying about viewings. I recently lost a valuation because the other agent promised them that they can get them £200,000 more on the house. Oh, okay. It's I valued it at 1.2 million. Yeah. The other agent came in at 1.395, and they also said they've got people waiting. They've got a house in the same area for sale for 1.495. Been on for 2 months, not sold. Yeah. But it's not sold because the 2 people who want that house are fighting over it, and they're going to want this house anyway. The other one instead. Yeah. I said you basically built the whole thing on. So I spoke so openly with the client. I was like, you basically been bullshitted by the other agent. Yeah. And they're a humongous agent. You will know who they are. They're worldwide. And they just built a relationship on lies from day one. And now they've got to sell their property to buy the one that they're buying off us. So we wanted to get the sale. I said, look, I don't think you're going to sell this property in the timeline that we need you to sell it. Yeah. Because you've gone too high and you've been lied to. And we'll see what's going to happen on that. But that is one of the biggest issues in our industry, is the other agent is KPI'd because they're corporate. They've lied to the client, they've valued it too high, and now they can't sell it.
We see a lot. We get, as I said, we work with corporate consultancies and agents, and some of them we have brilliant relationships with, don't get me wrong. But in general, when we speak to someone from a large corporate, there's always this misconception of them going to a smaller agent or a smaller consultancy about their career progression, their development opportunities. And actually, what we see is it's easier to go from a larger corporate organisation where in some instances, and I say some because it's not all the same, you're seen as just a number. Going to a smaller, independent, privately owned business, you have significantly more impact most of the time. It's better for your career development. Exactly what you've said, there's potentially less overheads dealing with an absolute corporate giant, so you can be a little bit more selective of the clients that you deal with or customers and vendors in your world. You can look at the fee, make sure the fee is appropriate to the service that you provide, whereas with a massive, a large corporate, exactly what you said, they don't care, they just want to get the deal through, move on to the next. Whereas so we actually, I guess in summary, we see people come from large corporates and excel in smaller independents.
Yeah, absolutely.
And not so much the other way around. I think people are starting to understand that now. It's not that exciting working for a tier one estate agent, as some would call them.
Of course, I can imagine it being an absolute pain.
Yeah.
If you're going from small to big, you could have had a lot of freedom and a lot of responsibility, and you would have had lots of roles to deal with and loads of experience. And you go somewhere else and you literally pigeonhole into one little role, and people may not like that. Coming back down the funnel can be fun because you get loads of more responsibility. One of the staff here came from a bigger company than this, and they like working here.
Yeah.
Another one was working at one of the big boys as well, and they appreciate working in a smaller company because what they get from that is appreciation. And job satisfaction, and they know they are, they know that the director's there, but they know they're appreciated. And I guess in any business, finding staff is easy, isn't it? But retaining staff has got to be one of the hardest things in any industry. So what are your top three, when you speak to an employer, what are the top three things you say to the employer to help retain their staff once they've found them through you guys?
As in, so the client, from our point of view, they've instructed us to find someone. How would we? So, do you know what? It's simple. It's simple tools that go overlooked quite often. Monthly one-to-ones with members of staff are really important, and they get overlooked. A monthly one-to-one is to identify, how they're feeling, how are they getting on, is the culture okay, is there anything that you need to be made aware of, what's going on at home, really understanding so you can adjust their working, not necessarily hours or flexibility or anything like that, but if you get a better understanding of each member of staff, you will get an insight into their life, what they're struggling with when they're low, and you can adjust the needs of the business around them, which in turn will create loyalty. If a member of staff knows that their boss or manager or anyone within the organisation has their back, they will automatically, be loyal to them. There will be more loyalty to them than if they're just ignored. Obviously, salary is a big one. I don't think salaries are too saturated at the moment. I generally think the market, people are on, some people are still underpaid, some people are still overpaid, but generally it seems, we see it quite stable. So that's just a given, pay someone what they're worth, don't overdo it just to attract the best person. And communication is a big one. So, within our business, if we have a difficult month or we've got problems that we need to discuss, we communicate it with everyone. We make everyone aware of the potential costs of the business, what their input of work actually does for us, and how they can be rewarded and compensated for doing so. And another point is flexibility. It is really big at the moment. So we don't operate a standard 9 to 5 at all. We have a saying at Hugo Reeves, which is work to what brings out the best in you. Some people like to come in really early. I'm one of them. I like coming in early. I'm more productive in the morning, and then my productivity dips in the afternoon. I've got a 1-year-old. I don't like sitting in rush hour traffic, so I'll come in a little bit earlier, and I'll leave a bit earlier in order to sort of see my family, which is equally important as being at work. Now, as a business owner, I can't have that luxury and overtly make members of staff come in rigid 9 to 5. So that offer is extended to everyone. We've got a brilliant office in a brilliant location, which is available to everyone in an organisation 24 hours a day. We've made an environment which is exciting to come in, or so is our intention to do so. But you don't have to come in if you don't want to. And I appreciate this doesn't apply to every industry. Specifically yours, you're going to need staff in to collect keys, to meet clients, to do viewings. And ours is similar. If we need someone to go and meet a client or a candidate, we just expect you to do it. You don't need to say, can I work from home today because I'm meeting Joe Bloggs in town tomorrow? Well, you can take Joe Bloggs to your office and show him round and have a coffee. But if you're more productive working from home, closer to your children, so you can do the school runs, that's absolutely fine as well. In our industry, the end results don't lie. As long as you're doing the process properly and upholding our very strict, what we want to perceive as reputation, we trust you wholeheartedly, and we really will power you with autonomy.
It's like a sales pitch for your company, that, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
Top 3 things to get your people to stay retain your company. We do it. We do it. I like it. It's good.
What we can't do is we can't preach to clients or customers and not do it ourselves.
Yeah, no, I
which
totally
is
agree.
really important for us.
Our ethos here is flexibility and culture.
Yeah.
And results will come naturally. Don't KPI your staff into holes where they can't get out of it. Just be flexible and understand that sometimes it's not always their problem. It's not always their fault if they don't get the listing or they don't get the deal, because there's other agents that will just lower their fees and provide a service which isn't the same as ours. And you've got to value what you do, because if you don't value what you do, you basically have no destiny or no journey or no idea of where you're going. Because if you start dropping your fees, it will just never end, and you just be at the bottom, And we've run adverts, by the way, to try and generate leads from landlords with low fees, like a little testers, and they just don't work.
Yeah.
They want quality, and in the area we operate in, they want to know the agent's got good quality, good integrity, good reviews, and you've got to highlight that, and you've got to sell that to your clients, because it's all about the customer-focused businesses who really put the customer first, and then the results will just naturally come from that. And that's how we built our business, along those sort of lines. And it's nearly 15 years old, so something we've done is working. So if I keep doing it, we'll grow, and we're not growing too fast. We're growing nice and naturally. We call it organic growth, and we haven't acquired any other companies yet, and it's going really well. And each day I have a good life and I look after my family, and you said there you want to go home to see your family. I've got 3 sons. To be fair, sometimes the less I see them at night, the better.
I know that feeling.
When I see them, I'm just like, oh shit, they're running around the house.
It's more the obligation to the partner.
They're paid
to come back.
Obviously, we love them on the weekends, but sometimes after work, I just go to bed, please.
Yes.
It's a bit more, less stressful. I want to know some things about you. So what is the most interesting role you've placed in property? I know there's not that many interesting roles, but what's that one role that sticks out like, oh, that's an interesting, weird position that someone wants? What have you found that to be?
It was, and this is what I talk about, high value, low value. It's not important. It is what makes a difference. So we were recruiting on behalf of a rural client who needed a surveyor or a property manager, but they needed experience in events, and those events needed to be holiday lets. And it was on behalf of quite a large rural estate. Impossible. When you say it like that, it was impossible. And I remember the client was really reluctant to use agencies, but had been trying to recruit for this impossible role for, I think it was months, before they eventually came to us, and I went over to meet them, and you could tell they were sort of reclusive initially, and as the conversation was going, we started to they started to warm up. We started bouncing ideas off each other as well. So it was a low level position in the grand scheme of things. So it wasn't £100,000 salary. It wasn't, a £20,000 salary. It was a lower end position, but it was exceptionally important to them because this person had quite a considerable workload and they needed to find the right person. So the position was on behalf of a rural estate. So we needed someone with a rural background. So we started talking about, well, we need people from rural universities. So maybe we start looking at graduates from a Harper Adams or Cirencester. Absolutely, and that will be our starting point. We then went on to, well, how are we advertising this? Well, we want to advertise it as an events manager. So what I did is we had a Teams meeting and I went into our back office LinkedIn recruiter, which gives us more access to the LinkedIn platform, and basically said, look, if you advertise it as events person with this experience, there's 4,000 results. If we do it as a property manager, but add in some, we need you to have or come from a rural background with events experience, there was tens of thousands of results. So it was trying to educate the client about, we understand what we've sat and we've spoken, we understand what you're looking for now. This is the route we're going to go down. They want to advertise it one way. We didn't just say, no, don't do that because it's crap. We said, this is what we think you should do, here's why. And we showed them the data and they immediately were like, well, actually, yes, absolutely. So it went from this tribrid position to effectively a rural property manager with events experience working in a holiday let space. So we identified different companies that we weren't working with, of course, who operated in a similar capacity. We narrowed the search down to which ones had either a rural degree or came from a rural background, because it's important to be able to speak the lingo in the particular, in the rural industry. And effectively, it was management. So it was a property manager as well, and we managed to place this impossible candidate very quickly within about 3 weeks. And the way it was explained, how it was simplified, and the process that I went through in really making the client understand what they need for this was brilliant. And I'll always remember that. It was a fantastic placement, and it was bouncing ideas off everyone.
I've got one story. One of my most interesting sales. So a vendor around Harborne had a lovely home, like it's 3,000 square foot, 1.1 million pound property, and he went to every agent in Harborne and said, I want you to find me a buyer, but you can't use any platforms, you can't advertise it, you have to find the buyer from your own database. And I was like, look, I've got a database, but I've also got a following on social media. Can I use my social media? He said, yeah, go for it. So we created a video of the property, a marketing video. We had like helicopter, noises on the video, like state of the art, video, like a trailer for a movie. Got this 30-second video, created like a little funnel on my website, and then added the video to YouTube, Facebook, and we basically dropped it into there, and all the leads came through the funnel. Anyway, so we had it on there. Every agent obviously couldn't do this sort of stuff. This is like 4 years ago. They weren't able to do that. Only we had like the ideas back then. Everyone can do it now. It's basic. But anyway, we dropped it onto Facebook, and we've got a big group on Facebook called the Harborne Community Page. It's got like 38,000 members on it. It's for the local area community page, and we just dropped that video onto that. Obviously, there's a lot of exposure there. No one else is allowed to do that because we were the admins, so we're the one with control.
Sure.
Obviously, it's a bit weird thing saying that, but anyway, we put it on there, and I remember we had about 5 viewings, and one day this lady was just driving down the street, stopped me and said, I've seen that video, and I want to view the house. I was like, give me a number, I'll call you. Anyway, so a few weeks later on, she viewed it, and she went and bought it, and we got asking price, and no one else could do that. And now that guy loves me. We still stay in touch every now and again. He's got other properties in the area. And that is my most memorable sale because we didn't use Rightmove. All agents rely on Rightmove. They stick it on Rightmove, and then that's how they get the leads. We try and generate leads through social media, through our own database, and through word of mouth. If you've got a good following online, people are going to see what you're advertising. That's what we do.
That's really interesting. That's a great story, and really interesting, because if you go on to, which I thought something sounded similar then, which I'd like to bring up. It's if you go onto my LinkedIn page now, or anyone does, you won't see me advertise any of the jobs that we work with. We have platforms which we can use outside of our social media, but our social media is about the value adds. Everything should be free to someone. So if you go onto my LinkedIn page, you'll see an article about how to reduce stress in the workplace. You will see tips of how to write your CV correctly. You will see how to prepare for an interview, how to increase your salary as a chartered surveyor, how to become chartered for free. You never need to follow me. You never need to message me. You can just go onto my profile and all that information will be available to you, and it is replicated on our website as well. If we give it for free, people will remember us and come back to us, and it just reminded me of your story.
That's called the freemium. I don't know if you've heard of this word. Have you heard of the word before?
No, I haven't, but I quite like the.
So it's called the freemium.
Catchy, yeah.
We've got over 600 blogs written on our website.
Okay. Yeah.
And they naturally go out to all of our clients.
Yep.
The other day I asked Kevin, who does the marketing, I was like, can you just send me a list of all the blogs about property management? Because the idea is when people ask us about renting a property out and they want management service, we just get them into a nurture journey thread, send them some reasons of why to use an estate agent, letting agent for their sale or rental. And then naturally, we're not telling them what to do, but we are really. We are telling them, but we're not telling them.
I put a post up about how to write a CV a couple of months ago. How to write your CV effectively, or don't put capitals in your CV in big blocks, and then a little hook, and make people read the post. And probably that afternoon, I had about 10 CVs in my inbox. Can you have a look at this for me, please, James? While you're there, have you got any opportunities?
Freemium.
I didn't post a job. I just put something out genuinely to provide value to people, to say, look, you can trust us. It resonated with people. They trusted us enough with their documents. We didn't get anything from that, in all fairness, in terms of we didn't place any of the people.
You never know what comes from anything deep down.
But that's the thing. It was very, and any recruiter will attest, it is really hard at the moment to attract people. It is very hard to get a candidate to put their trust in you, to give you their document, to then allow them to represent you. There's just a lot of competition.
You should have a candidate appreciation day.
Absolutely.
And stick like a £2,000 behind the bar at a restaurant or a bar, and say all candidates invited. Come along, get a free help with your CV for 10 minutes. Chat to one of my guys and see if there's a job for you. It could be a mega idea.
Do you know what? That's a really good idea. I need to have a chat about that after.
We're hopefully planning our 15-year party for next year, so we're going to think of something along the lines. Thing is, not many tenants are going to come, because tenants, the only interaction with tenants is problem.
Yeah.
They don't call you when things are okay. They don't call you and say, by the way, Sammy, everything's fine. They go, Sammy, it rained like 2 days worth of rain in 5 minutes last night. We've got a little leak. Come round now. That's the only interaction we have about tenants. It's never nice, but this is why property managers have jobs, basically, because no one else can do it. We're going to have to wrap this up, but there's two more things I want to discuss. Everything you just said there about like giving value came from. I read that as a book. There's a guy, Gary V. You heard of Gary V?
No, it rings a bell.
Gary Vaynerchuk. No. Basically, he's all about like that, giving value. Don't tell people to buy from you. Just basically give them the reason not to buy from you. He had a wine shop, and he didn't tell people to buy wine. He just reviewed wine online, saying, "Well, this is great. This is £5.50 or $5.50," and people just wanted to go and try the wine, because someone who's an expert, who they thought was an expert, they said it's amazing. And it's just the same way with us. Why use a property management company? Because this is how they relieve you of stress. And they're the things in business that you do and we do clearly quite well. Like, we don't just force people, we give them reasons not to use us. And that's how I built MECS. Is like, we're a great agency, we're always on the phone, great communication. You seem to be doing exactly the same yourself. But the final thing is the property market. I always ask every guest this question: what's going down with the property market? I'm going to start, because things are going down at the moment, which is bad. I think interest rates are going down, which should be, there should be an opposite effect of house prices. House prices should go up. But at the same time, if interest rates go going down and house prices go up, if people aren't buying because they're scared of what's going on in the economy, we're at a bit of a stagnant point, in my opinion. We've got houses live at the moment which aren't getting viewings because everyone's worried about what's going on with the autumn budget. If the autumn budget comes out as positive and interest rates come down, what do you think is going to happen?
I think from a supply chain perspective, as I was saying about our industry is quite interchangeable. I suspect there will be an increase in opportunity in the residential market again. There was a massive dip, and there has been for the last couple of years in terms of a really good point. Valuation surveyors were gold dust a couple of years ago. And there was a variety of redundancies this year within the res valuation space, and it was very difficult to transfer to the commercial world. People have obviously done that and diversified their experience. With everything going on, I believe there will be a bounce back in opportunity within the residential market. So from a supply chain perspective, there'll be more management opportunities. There will be more professional service opportunities as well, which may cause a dip in the commercial space to where the talent are going back to where their interests
where they're meant to be.
Yeah, where they're meant to be.
Yeah,
People have a preference. So that is what I suspect will happen from a supply chain perspective.
I've read actually about the autumn budget. And one of the things is capital gains. They're looking to do a big overhaul on capital gains tax. Essentially, what they're saying is by April next year, they're going to increase capital gains to like a flat fee of 30% on any gains, which is not there at the moment.
Yeah,
and that's going to cause a problem.
Yeah.
So what they're expecting is, what people have written is that there's going to be a mass exodus again of landlords from this October to April. So that means the market might be flooded with buy-to-lets.
Yeah.
But if the interest rates aren't low enough, no one's going to buy them.
Yeah.
Very worrying times in agency right now, because no one knows what's going on, and I'm just fed up of like every time something goes on with the media or economy, everyone just freezes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Everything, the election, COVID, the Ukraine war, the Israel war, now we've got their autumn budget. Everything is always a problem. Christmas, everyone shuts off. Like, it's just constant, like everyone's just filling their minds full of fear. And I just think if people turned off the radio and they stopped watching the news, I think everyone would just buy and sell properties naturally.
And that's a really, really good point. You've been with MECS 15 years, right? You've been through all this before as well. So I guess it's about reassuring people we've been in difficult times before. And there's always a bounce back. There's always a dip in the market. There's always a bounce back. People are interchangeable. There is a need for housing across the UK. There will always be a need some way, shape or form.
There's a ridiculous shortfall of property in the UK.
Yeah, absolutely.
But people aren't selling and buying because they listen way too much to the media, and the media just literally controls people with their patterns of buying and selling property. It doesn't stop them going down the pub and buying a £7.50 pint and a £20 pizza and a £6 coffee.
Yeah.
But it stops them actually making decisions on property because people are too short-sighted, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like one of the biggest jobs we have as an agent is to value correctly so we can sell the property, and also educate buyers into like, look, do not panic. Like if your interest rates are £200 more for 2 years, £4,800, per month, by the way, £4,800 over 2 years. In the grand scheme of things, your house is going to lift up, more than that in the 2 years anyway. And if the average house price is about 280k, and if we get 5% growth next year, that's 14 grand. But you're only paying 2.5 grand more in a year for the interest. You've actually made more.
Yeah.
To think bigger instead of smaller.
Yeah.
Some people think so small they can't even add up the figures that I've just said. But they roll off my tongue so quick because I love maths, and I don't know where it's going to go. I just want there to be a positive autumn budget. I just can't see it. They're talking about a £22 billion deficit this year just in the economy. And how they're going to raise that? They're going to just come in and just hurt people. And they come for landlords first. And landlords build our business. So I just hope it's positive. I think if it's positive, the house price is going to go up. But I just can't confirm this minute until 2 weeks' time or 3 weeks' time from now. And then we should know what's going on. Hope people can just start buying and selling again.
Yeah.
Even just viewing the houses. Who knows?
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a lovely chat.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
And if you want any recruitment advice for property, this could be your man. Thanks for watching, guys.